I just wanted to follow up on Sean Walsh's comment. I think on the culture question, it's important to think beyond what the soldiers do in their quarters. The place you really want to change their culture is when they're doing their work and thinking about, how do I make this Jeep more efficient? How do I, think about it for their task, and in the, out in the in Afghanistan or wherever. And we know that's hard to do. We, in the Federal Energy Management Program, run awards and things, and it's always hard to incentivize people, but that's really the more important place to think about that culture change than in their quarters, I would suggest.
Has the DOE figured this out? I mean, are there certain things you do that we should be doing?
Awards is one of them, ways to, because it's hard to know exactly how much energy gets saved sometimes, but that's one way that you can recognizing people. It's hard to always reward government employees, but some recognition always helps.
Well, that continues to be a great issue, and we're looking for ideas on how to incentivize good behavior. And I love your thought process. It's not just where they live, it's also where they work and how they do their job on a daily basis. So thank you for that.
That's one of the thoughts around the metering program. Is traditionally Army installations have been metered at a single point. And so you can see how much energy 500 buildings use, but you can't direct and identify the energy use on a building by building basis and reward performance for a % reduction. With our metering program, that's going to enable us to do comparatives and to reward performance. And so certainly that's something we've been discussing. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Josephine Chuang, and I'm an intern with the Army. And my question is in regards to the workforce. Aside from science and technology research, what other areas have you found a lack in the workforce? We've discussed policy, communications, cultural issues, logistics. Is there a particular area, or operations research, is there a particular area where you have a real lack of skills on workforce that you need to fill?
I mean, I'll just follow up on my earlier comment about these energy managers we have at the installation level. Just like everything we do, the general says, I want an energy manager, and I want that energy manager to go to Dallas and be at this symposium. Everybody says, yes, sir, yes, sir. And then they send the people to that energy symposium we talk about. Whether or not we pick the right people with the right skill sets is the open issue. And if they don't have the right skill sets, what do we got to do to train them to be effective energy managers? And then how do we ensure that they have access to and visibility by the senior commander so their ideas are thought and heard? That's the biggest issue I'm dealing with at the installation level in terms of the workforce.
I think a lot of it is increased focus in communications. What you're hearing is that all of the departments of the Army are making this a priority. And so there is increased demand for people who understand energy and can help us advance the strategies. So that's something that we are looking for, is people who have that passion and that talent and that training. Yes?
I'm Paul Rogi. I work for General Vane, and I also support the Army Energy Office with respect to operational energy. One of the things I'd like to share is the idea that as we do this initial capabilities document, we're looking at operational requirements. We're also recognizing that the soldiers really are the ones who make the decisions out there that affect energy, and the small unit leaders. And so as we expose what are the operational capabilities that are important, how does energy support those, what are metrics that reflect success, what we need the soldiers and small unit leaders to do is look at how am I performing then? What am I doing to contribute? How can I measure that success? And so when we get the capabilities out there in the smart grids or the fuel management systems or whatever, look for ways that you can put a mark on the wall and say, how am I doing? And maybe have competition between people. And also look for the resources that are out there. For example, DOE already has alternative energy blog. You can go and find out about solar energy or wind energy, ask people questions, have discussion out there. And I think we're going to increase the use of those discussion forums and the ability to collaborate, especially as we have this partnership that we're developing between DOE and DOD. So, look for ways to crosstalk, share ideas with other people, and do a little bit of research on your own, and brag about, the performance that you're doing, the things that you're doing that improve the unit's performance.
Very good, thank you. Yes, another question?
Yes, my name is Barry Aliariza. I'm with Polytrade International Corp. And my question is, we have a fuel catalyst that will increase the efficiency of all the liquid fuels, including coal, anywhere between 15 to 20%, and it can also reduce your emissions 38 to 60%. So who can we go to, which department of the military, to do a quick and easy test? Because we know that no matter how small amount that you will test it, that you will see, and then you'll be encouraged.
You want to take?
Yeah, that,
Give Grace the microphone.
I come from the R&D side of the house in support of DASA RT, the director of TARDAC. We have that fuel responsibility and have for many, many years been working at all kinds of either catalysts, synthetic fuels, alternative fuels. We have a whole host of resources to help test and assess that. So just get with me after.
See, that's exactly what we're hoping for. Somebody out there's got a good idea. Let's connect the dots.
Yes.
yes, ma'am. I'm Julius Coates, and as I listen to all the discussion that is going on, this is both from the installation and the operational side, it seems as if we're all looking for a quick fix to a larger challenge. And so I'm thinking that maybe there should be a strategy over time, what's the end game, as opposed to all the individual eaches. I just don't think that that we can get there by, we can make some improvements on the next 2 years, the next 3 years, but when you get to the operational side, we've got tanks, Bradleys, that are here that are going to be around for a long time. There's not going to be a lot of energy efficiencies I think, that you're going to get out of those. But you have to look for I think, the next generation down the next 20 to 30 years as to where you want to be. The other thing is, I really believe that it's going to require the Department of Energy is to step up to the table, because that's what the E is about energy, to help DOD, not just the Army, solve this energy challenge. I know that's not a question, but that's just a statement from me about this.
No, I appreciate your thought, and you're right, there is no silver bullet. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. The solution that might work on a permanent installation doesn't necessarily work on an operational, forward operating base, but there are similarities. And with our goal being net zero, if in an installation, that installation itself is net zero, then the fuel can go toward the vehicles. It can go toward supporting the Army mission. And so with that net zero goal, we can focus on the individual systems, and we can focus on the individual units and the individual technologies and work toward that objective of reducing our overall fuel use. General Vane, do you want to make any comments on that?
Thanks, Julius. Julius works down at RKIC. He's an L&O DOE. The only other comment I would make, as I mentioned in my comments, we are generating an overall campaign plan that will establish goals and metrics for our users of energy inside of our tactical fleets, whether they be vehicles, generators, airplanes, UAVs, and the like, batteries. And so we are headed in that direction. We don't have it yet, no, but the whole idea behind the ICD is the initial capabilities document is to generate the necessary metrics for all the other systems that are out there and insert those standards linked to an enterprise goal for operational energy for the improvements to the tank, the improvement to the Bradley, the ground combat vehicle, the JLTV. So that's the direction we're headed. We're not there yet, but Roger. And you're going to help me with that, Julius.
Very good. I think we have another question here in the back. Yes, sir.
I'm Colonel Wicker, Garrison Commander, White Sands Missile Range. We had a really great conference a couple weeks ago that brought together people knowledgeable with how the utility industries works, how the state regulatory agencies work. And when we crosswalked the processes and who all the stakeholders were, it became apparent that going net zero for an installation means that we have to partner with the franchise local utility who owns the infrastructure we connect to, and basically they're facing losing large customers when garrisons come off of their grid. And as garrisons move to becoming first net zero and then maybe energy contributors to the grid, now they're viewing us as competitors for their business. And the state regulatory agencies, they're kind of trying to mediate between commercial concern versus independent military energy situation. I'm wondering if DA can provide top cover and apply pressure to the state regulatory agencies to facilitate installations becoming net zero versus keeping us in the current box of just being another paying customer for a state utility or state regulated utility whose business is staying in business.
That's a very good point. It's interesting when you look at the challenges that utilities are facing. They're facing grids, electrical grids, that are overburdened and stressed. And so one of the ideas of being net zero is that we relieve some of the stress and strain on the utility grid. So having that dialogue helps facilitate it. The other idea is that we contribute to the grid during the day and pull off the grid at night. So the grid becomes a storage device. We might be net zero in that our annual energy use is equivalent to our annual energy production. But at times we're going to be a customer, and at other times we're going to be a supplier. You're absolutely right that there needs to be an integration and a very good discussion with the utility to understand where their stresses and strains are and how we can partner together on that. It is a regional discussion, it is a local discussion, and that's where it needs to take place. There is no intention that we island and become completely independent, because we want to work with the local community and work with the local utilities and grids and remain a good partner in the community. But it's got to be a discussion early on. Any other comments?
No, just like experience Mike Bain just had, Colonel Wicker works for me. He's one of my garrison commanders. That's a great point, and you're going to help us mature the policy and how we can put that together. Thanks for bringing that up.
Good. I think we have time for one more question.
Yes. I'm Randy Shedd, working in the Energy and Partnership Office. What's been talked about this morning, I think we've seen it on the screen. We talk about the soldier, we talk about the leadership, but also the military family. And I know we have the family covenant that's been made. And what General Fan said earlier, that when that decision is made to cut out or what buildings will not be built because we're incorporating energy efficiency in our design, we need to include the family so that they are with us also, because we stand as one. And so that they're not, even with the family covenant, complaining, but that they understand what buildings are being built, what's not being built this year because of, and so this is something we need to bring the families along also. And I always say energy is the wave of the future, which is now. Just making a point.
Thank you, Randy. Any comment on that, General Lynch?
No, I think you're exactly right. A lot of what we have to do is detailed, effective, strategic communication and talk to the Army family writ large, which is soldiers, Department of the Army civilians and their families, and tell them what we're doing and why we're doing it and solicit their support. That's really a critical aspect of all this.
Great. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank our panelists. Please join me in thanking them for their contributions. We did put a questionnaire on your seat. We addressed various energy topics here from a variety of sources, but we're always looking for input as to what we could do better next year. And if you have a question that didn't get You're welcome to come forward and talk to the panelists who will be around for a while, or to put your question on this sheet. Thank you very much.